still look at things so quick. I know you do it. That's okay. That's good. But you know, we got a long road. Yeah, and I'm glad Gwen reaching out. Like I told her to. I said, yeah, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you listened because everyone's a lot. That's a lot.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, and it's like,
We will start our study session.
All right, I just want to put that in my
All right. No, okay. So we'll start with. No.
come on, Mia.
She said she gonna be late.
So who's taking it?
I mean, I'll take. Well, no, it has to be Corey.
Yeah. So we'll start with council item A. Jimmy, you want to take Hogan's stuff? 8A.
On behalf of Councilor Hogan, he has item 8A. That one is ready, Katie? A?
Oh, yeah, 8A.
Matt, you have anything to say for that one, or no, we're good?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I thought I was Matt OJ, Commissioner of Assessment. Nope, thought I was invited, but no, if you have nothing else, we don't either.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 9, or would we know by Monday?
Monday.
Okay, all right. Councilor Cardwell.
Thank you, Whip. I'm like, what is wrong? Sure, thank you. Blessings to all today on this beautiful rainy day. I have items 10 through 17. Commissioner, you are up.
Tony Williams, Commissioner of Parks. Good afternoon, councilors.
Good afternoon.
Parks Department has items 10 through 13. Well, no, let me rephrase that. 10 through 16. 17.
17. Let's start off with 10.
All right, so item number 10 is a request to not exceed 750. What this piece of legislation requests is for our cycle in the city rides every year. This is an additional ride-along component that will deal with any bike maintenance issues and safety issues that pop up along the ride. Currently, 4 out of 5 rides that we offer to constituents cycle in the city, we have AMR that rides along, which is the a paramedic presence. We also have SPD for a presence on a ride-along, and this will allow us to have an additional component of a mechanical and safety presence riding along with those rides.
Any questions? Next, item 11, please.
Next item, item number 11, is with the Onondaga Earth Corps. This is for our tree planting and pruning contract, which is a 3-year contract. This contract just went back out, and Onondaga Earth Corps received it. This cost is not to exceed $792,092.
So,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
This particular agenda item right here, this pertains just to parks, or is that the citywide thing? What's the?
They're pretty much, it's city property because, you know, Parks takes care of all vacant city land.
Mm-hmm.
So it's parks and city, yes.
Okay, so how are we doing from the previous years where we had also this close to similar particular item right here? How are we doing with the progress?
Absolutely. We have our city arborist, Steve Harris, here to speak for those details.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Steve Harris, City Arborist. This contract is project-based, so all the work that they do under that and are paid for is like planting a certain number of street trees or pruning a certain number of street or park trees. So all that work has been completed and happens on an ongoing basis.
Okay.
Steve, thank you for that follow-up. So I know last year we had a grant that was coming through, right? Was it like near Kirk Park, and you were going to take some trees, remove some, and then add some, and that like the right-of-way and information. How's that going?
Do you mean along the creek walk?
There we go.
That's an ongoing project. That actually is a big grant that is winding down this year. Actually, March of next year, but we don't do much January, February, March of any year.
Steve, just to jump in, is that answer towards the Kirk Park side of the, remember you did a bunch of charrettes? Is that towards the Kirk Park side?
Trying to recall what
To
you're
figure-
referring to.
It was to figure out, like, what the residents wanted to
Oh,
see.
both sides.
Okay.
What I call Kirk Park West, where the Travelers Rest building is, and then the Kirk Park side that we consider Kirk Park. The status of that project is we're entering a phase of ongoing maintenance to keep alive what we planted. We have view sheds there where we want plants to stay low so you can see across either side. And then we have places where we want trees to grow because the shade will do the work for us to keep plants at bay, keep them low.
Are we, when we're planting trees through Onondaga Earth Corps, I love what they do. I see them everywhere. Do we have like strategically where we're going, or do we know mapping out this summer where they're going to be planting?
Yes, we at Parks generate a planting plan every year based on requests, department priorities, referrals from everybody, including from the mayor's office, counselors, stakeholders ask us where to plant trees, and we're usually preparing a planting plan. The planting plans we're preparing now are for the fall. The planting plans we prepare late fall in the winter are for the spring.
And these trees, just because I received a call, are now the trees that we don't have to worry about our sidewalks lifting, right?
Well, I'll never promise that there'll never be a tree sidewalk conflict, and I never have. But we are, I think we're making smarter planting plans than was done in the 70s. We're getting further away from infrastructure. We right-size the tree to the site, or we do something to the sidewalk so that roots can pass under.
Thank you.
Steve, before you leave, just back to Kirk Park, the Kirk Park Ave side, I have gotten residents' complaints about, there's, I don't know, 2 or 3 trees, they look burgundy in color, that have a lot of little ones growing off of, a lot.
Sprouts growing up.
Yeah.
Is that in Kirk Park?
It's on the Kirk Park Ave side.
Of the park. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we're
And-
going
and
to take
they-
care of those.
yeah, they want
It's
those.
out of control. Understood.
Any other questions? Thank
Do
you.
a great job, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Seriously, thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 12.
Thanks, Steve. I'd like to echo Councilor Monto's sentiment, and Steve, you do a great job. Thank you.
She walked out.
Item number 12 is a request not to exceed $300,000 for additional repairs required for the lake wall.
When is that projected to finish, Commissioner? Because I see they are,
Yeah, they're making great progress right now. We're real happy about the progress over there. Currently, projected timeline is end of the year. Let me just look over at engineering. And yes,
End of the
current
year.
timeline is projected at the end of the year.
Okay, item 14.
Item number 14 is additional funds for the Homer Wheaton concession and facility improvements. What this project is that over at Homer Wheaton Park, we were allocated a grant years ago for this very project. This is Parks putting forth matching funds to carry that project through to the finish line. That project will be an erection of a concession stand with bathrooms to complement
Absolutely.
the baseball diamond in that park.
This is something, counselors, I've been working on for since I stepped in. And Commissioner, I thank you for seeing and working hard to get it done, because that community actually deserves it. They need it. And when the kids play baseball, they should have a bathroom and it'd be a nice concession stand. So I'm excited about this at Homer Wheaton / Mountain View Park. So, any questions?
thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Item number 16.
Item number 16 is the official request for the Spirit of Jubilee stage. This project was allocated $250 on Parks Department Capital Plan 24, and this is us just requesting to move forward with this project.
So is this done after this, or what's going to happen?
Right now, the conceptual design is done. It looks great. They're prepping the construction documents at this moment. This project will be ready to be started in the fall. Hoping to have it complete in the fall, but this project's ready to go currently.
And for the new counselors or counselors that are new, this is a project that we have been working on for a couple years now, bidding different prices. They had to come up with a better price. I think that neighborhood they have every summer, they do a lot over there. We're focusing on building and making that park better. So this will now give them a stage to provide, music or whatever there. And also it'll be a rental, so it will be income driven into the Parks Department. So thank you again, Commissioner.
Absolutely. And
And
we've been working with
Commissioner-
stakeholders in that area throughout this whole process. We've also been working with volunteer professional sound companies to get insight, just to make sure that we're doing this as best as possible. Counselor?
Is JAM involved in the design and?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jams is actually our stakeholder in
Yeah,
this.
okay.
And we meet frequently, and they're very happy with the way the project is going.
One question, Joe, this question is for you, Corp Counsel. You mentioned rentals. Is there going to be like fees or something? Is that going to have to come back to the council? He mentioned the stage might. Councilor
permitted
Codwell
space.
mentioned it might be a rental.
Depends what the permit is.
Okay.
Covering parks, they'd have to check that.
Okay.
It would have to be, because they would have to come and turn it on, this whole process, so.
Excellent point, Ms. McBride.
So we just follow your usual, if you want to do event in the park, you have to put in for a permit and fill out paperwork and all of the same, right?
Absolutely.
Same?
We already
Okay.
have that mechanism in place for the park, but to Ms. McBride's point, in elevating is, do we need additional conversation with legal in regards to permitting the stage itself? And that's a very fair point. I look forward to talking with legal about that.
That's good.
We all set. Everybody, any other questions? All right, Commissioner, let's go. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm all set, Joe.
Councilwoman Joe, so I have item
Somebody find Councilor Michelle.
18 to 22. The first item is with the fire department. That was funny, right? Fire department.
Chief.
Good afternoon, Council. Executive Deputy Chief Rick Kisselstein here. We have item number 18 on the agenda. This is for an amendment to a waiver of competitive bids for the company that supplies our uniforms. We are raising it from the $200,000 mark that we originally had up to $500,000. We're using, operational funds to move it over there. This is to get our uniforms for our firefighters that are that do not have the PFAS in them. If you've heard that in the news, that was a recent law that was passed by Governor Hochul that will make it illegal to sell apparel that contains PFAS in them. So we want to get our firefighters in a safe uniform, and this is the means that we'll be able to get that done.
Is the state, are they doing any grants for any of the fire departments in regards to this, or is it all based on municipality?
Yeah, we have not seen anything. We've looked. Many departments are still scrambling, trying to figure out how to overcome this. We use, our current uniforms are made of a material called Nomex. It's a fireproof material. So trying to find something to replace that's safe. Took us a little while, but we found an option. And we would like to get our firefighters into these uniforms.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to see all the fire departments in the state of New York to get together and write a letter to the state for them to get some state federal fund, or state funds for this, because every fire department's not going to be able to be feasible to do this. But I'm glad we're able to do it. So
Yeah, that'd be spectacular. Yeah.
Well, I think it's good that we are finally going to that direction, because safety of firefighters is important, and as hefty as it is in terms of the price of the uniform doubling, it's certainly a great move considering the health concern with the uniforms.
This law is going to affect a lot of industries, and we're happy to get in front of this. because soon enough, other departments and other industries are going to be trying to do the same thing. And I'm not sure if the supply chain will be able to handle that. So we have a means to get this done, and we just want to make sure we get our guys into some safe uniforms.
Now, to Councilor Gather's point, just to push it a little further, was when the governor made these law, was there any funding allocated to it, or was this just another unfunded mandate?
I have not seen any funding available for this.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
The rest of the item are with the police department, where
Good afternoon, councilors. I'm Lieutenant Tom, City of Syracuse Police Department. I have item number 20. It is enter an agreement with Dr. Rebecca Bernard for comprehensive mental health services on behalf of the Syracuse Police Department to include crisis intervention, training, response to critical incidents, and individuals or couples therapy. The agreement is in the form of a retainer for 10 hours monthly with a minimum cost of $30,000 annually, not to exceed $100,000. We're in a very difficult time with our department in light of what recently happened, and we're realizing that we don't have enough support, which is why we are looking to enter into this agreement with a mental health person who is knowledgeable in mental health.
Are you doing 20 or
I'm doing
19?
20. I apologize. I think I jumped. I think I jumped
We'll come back
19.
to the finish it.
Yep.
Finish it, we'll come to it.
I apologize.
With item 20, this is for the first time, right? This is going
This
to
is
be
the first time, yes.
Okay.
This is the first time we are entering into this agreement with Dr. Bernard.
Okay, it's Rick here, HR, Rick. How does this work relative to the EPA that is available to city employees? How different is that? What's the difference between the EPA and this one? Because EPA is available.
The
for-
EAP, yeah, is correct.
Yeah,
It's available to
EAP,
all,
yeah.
to all employees, including police, yeah.
Okay, so why do we have this and not the EAP?
The difference with
That's
the
a-
EAP is the ability, so what she's willing to offer is she works not only with our peer support team currently to provide them training and guidance when we have an officer in crisis. She also works with our hostage negotiation team. Every time there's a call out, she has not been able to make all of them, but she has come to call outs where the hostage negotiation teams need someone, a mental health specialist. So it's in addition to using the EAP. The problem with the EAP, police officers don't want to talk to just anyone. They want to talk to someone who they can trust. And because she's been around our department and assisted on a voluntary basis already, she's established relationships with a lot of our officers. So
Is that doctor done there?
This is Dr. Bernard right
Thank you
here.
for everything that you do. It's good seeing you.
And also, just with EAP available, as well as there's also a wellness app that we initiated about 3 years ago as
Right.
well,
The
as a
portable
backup
app,
to
correct.
that.
Yep.
I like to see what's the difference between this and that. Is it because the officers are not using both
It's not-
services? That we need
it's
extra
not
ones?
different, it's to supplement it, because before the app and the EAP, it was okay. Our officers were using it. With light of Officer Jensen dying, it's a very difficult time for officers. It's not enough, and that's the answer. It's just not enough. The EAP and the Cortico app is not enough for our officers right now. We are having just a number of contacts our peer support team is having and directing them to the Cortico app. Sometimes they need to talk to someone immediately, right? And they need immediate response, immediate support. Dr. Bernard will be on an on-call basis 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The EAP, I've used it before myself. There is a suicide hotline, but sometimes that's not the right answer. The follow-up to that is you have to schedule an appointment with someone a few days out, and we don't have that luxury.
Does the fire department use the same doctor?
I don't believe the fire department uses
No.
Something separate.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll follow up offline
Yes, sir.
with more questions. 19, let's go back to, any other question on on 20? Okay, 19.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Brian Lutz, Police Department. Item 19, I believe that grant is managed by another department counselor. That's not one that the police actively oversees. I think that's part of the gun violence out of the mayor's office, maybe? Sorry.
That's my fault. I'm sorry.
No, no worries. Good afternoon, Janet Burke, the Director of Research. Brian is correct. This is a grant, a U.S. Department of Justice grant that we already have received actually about 2 years ago, and it included memberships at the YMCA for the people that are involved in the Community Violence Intervention Program, which is part of the Mayor's Office to Reduce Gun Violence. And now we're just asking to enter into an agreement for the YMCA, with the YMCA for the memberships.
Jen, is this for the program that we started months ago? That we voted?
It's part of it. Yes, that program is a combination of different grants and different, but yes, it is part of it, the original grant.
The $1 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the $1 million. Okay, I should have brought it up.
So how many will this program cover with $28,000?
I think it's approximately 50 for
50?
a year.
Okay, so it was the initial 50 that, okay.
Right.
Hey, Janet, on this one, I know you're on the grant price, but can we get an update on, we were supposed to get an update on this
Supposed to be
in April.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're supposed to get one in April, and I know it's not on you, I'm just putting it out there.
I
It
think
was
just if you could tell me.
update on this program
Oh,
for
okay.
the gun violence.
Sure.
and Where we are.
Counselor, I think Nader actually, did you reach out for that report to come through? Yeah. So
It was reported that it was
we
coming in
reached out
April.
for it, so we just kind of like waiting.
Last time I checked in the contract, whether it was contracts were not even received or sent out. Some was going on with the contracts. They were not ready.
I think the contracts are,
They have been going
Yeah.
out. So
Yeah,
I
the
think-
contracts have all
Yeah,
been,
they're-
for all the partners, have
Yeah.
now been signed.
Okay.
we're just
So-
waiting to hear back from whomever Sharon, okay, a deputy mayor. We're just
And
waiting
she-
to hear back
okay.
from her, and he'll get it to you all.
I would just like to see how many
Thank you.
people are
All right,
involved.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Janet.
Thank you. Item 21.
Okay, this one I think I can actually speak to. Basically, the purpose is to extend the contract with ShotSpotter. As you know, we had to get a waiver of competitive bid to enter into that contract. I was up here about 6 months ago because there's a phase 1 and a phase 2 to ShotSpotter. You all asked if we could co-term those agreements, so I only had to come to you once a year for a waiver. This is extending the contract and putting the two pieces of ShotSpotter into one contract, so you only see us once a year going forward.
This item, I believe we may have had a committee meeting, I'm not 100% sure, but
We did.
we had reports on the area. For the north side, I think there were 2 areas that were being covered. One area was, had significant activity, and one area had barely no activity.
Okay.
Are you able to give us which area you're talking about, or is it in both areas?
So the original contract is the area not including the north side. It's the area downtown and moving towards the south side of the city. The second piece is the north side exclusively. So within one of those contracts are the 2 areas you're talking about.
So phase 2 covers the entire north side. So although one area has no activity, we would still be funding that.
So it doesn't cover the whole north side, but the entire contract is on the north side of the city. There's parts of the north side that are not covered.
Yes, I understand that.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is the phase 2 covers those 2 ShotSpotter setups.
Correct.
And though one has no activity, we still gonna roll that into the 3-year extension.
Yeah, I can certainly go back to the deputy chiefs and see if there's a way we can adjust the areas, if that is an operationally sound decision to make. I haven't seen the reports myself, but we can look into that.
Also, can you mention, where on the north side particular, that you have a certain area particular where you've gotten a lot of shots heard? Is it near a park? Is it near intersection?
So
particulars?
I personally haven't seen the reports that the other counselor is speaking to. We can certainly get you a copy of those.
Okay, as a district counselor for the north side.
Mm-hmm.
And my other question is, we're changing the company name to Sound Thinking. This is another company?
No, ShotSpotter changed its name to Sound
Okay,
Thinking.
so it's changed its name. Are you able to send to me and the other counselors where on the north side are you gonna have this particularly? So I know to answer my constituent calls, where spot shotters, where the most activity is.
We can get you that information, Counselor.
If you would forward that to me and other counselors, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
So this would be a third shot spotter?
Nope.
This is the extension of the two that are already there.
So just two?
Right, it's just taking the two existing contracts, combining them into one contract and continuing forward.
Yeah, one expired, and the one that expired, they actually moving over to the other piece of legislation that still got.
How many do we have total?
Contracts or projects?
No, the shot spotter themselves, where in terms.
The actual sensors?
Yes,
Total throughout the city or on the north
yes,
side?
throughout the city, throughout the city.
I can't give you an exact number, but I can get it to you, Counselor.
Okay.
One of the narratives in the media around ShotSpotter, in particular in relation with other cities throughout the country that have discontinued their service, was the issue of false positives. I'm not sure, Jeremy, if it was your article about this, nope, a little while back, but it talked about how that issue was not present in Syracuse. Could you maybe talk about why the false positives are not a problem here, where they are in other locations, and what we're doing differently, and provide a little insight around that?
Can't necessarily tell you why we're not getting the false positives. I do know the way ShotSpotter's system works, it has layers to it. So just because the sensor picks up a sound doesn't mean we're dispatching a police officer immediately. They have people who filter that through, who listen to it and run it through various audio devices to really kind of narrow down whether it's a gunshot, firework, a car making a noise, or something else. I can't tell you why we have had good success and other areas haven't, but I know there is a pretty extensive process. So, we're not sending somebody chasing every sound in the city.
Well, I think the report was that they weren't getting many false positives because when they did go out to the scenes, they were able to find shell casings at many of those locations. So it wasn't like false reports per se.
And I do believe maybe 2 weeks ago, Lieutenant Tom, if I'm not mistaken, that there was a victim in the city of Syracuse that was shot. Nobody called it in, and due to ShotSpotter, the officers were able to respond there and find the victim that was shot. I believe it was in the leg or something like that, but ShotSpotter does serve a good purpose.
It does happen fairly frequently. We won't get anyone calling in and out of one ShotSpotter, but we'll respond to the area because of ShotSpotter. That does happen pretty frequently, is that we will get dispatched to a ShotSpotter call, and then no one will call it in, and we'll subsequently check the area and find evidence that shots fired had occurred. So
Are these aligned with the police cameras?
they're in the general vicinity of it, of the cops' cameras.
So they're not actually on the same pole with the cameras are?
I don't know exactly, and to answer your question earlier about the location of the ShotSpotter on the north side.
Right.
It goes pretty much along 690 up to the area around Hiawatha Boulevard. It cuts across Grant, down Oak Street, up to James and Teal, and then down Teal to Burnett, and then Burnett all around. And that's on the north side. And so
those
it's a
are the-
large area
right.
that ShotSpotter covers. And then
Right.
we have our cops' cameras strategically placed so we can identify areas of high gun violence.
So you're looking at where it's mostly needed though, right? You're
Yeah,
not going to
it's
be going
data-driven.
in other neighborhoods.
Right, it's data-driven for sure.
But are you going close to where there are parks? Because I did get a complaint from a constituent on Grumbeck Ave. There was some, she had heard guns, but I don't know if there were spot shotters on Grumbeck Ave. by
Well,
the park.
that's the benefit of having ShotSpotter, because what it does, it triangulates the location. So she may be in the park at Grumbach Ave, but it may occur 4 blocks over. The ShotSpotter is going to pinpoint to show that it didn't actually happen in the park, but happened over on Grumbach Ave. And it's an area of coverage, right? So it's not a small area of coverage. They'll use different speakers to triangulate the exact location or near the exact location of the incident.
Also, could you guys make sure you send the data that you gave us about 2 months ago
Yeah.
when we had a committee meeting? Could you, Nada, could we follow up to recircle that with the counselors? Because we had it specifically, that
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
to figure out the accuracy of shot spotter. And there,
Other departments couldn't attest for other departments, but what he mentioned was some other departments may not go out and find the shell.
you want to go up there, Nada?
False information.
Yeah.
Good? You good?
Yeah.
He was just
All right.
saying, just for the microphone's purpose, the deputy chief had said that some of the other agencies that have ShotSpotter may not have responded to the ShotSpotter calls to find the evidence, and that's why there were false positives.
Just before you go, I guess it's more or less reiterating everything that's being said, but one thing is more or less to figure out, because you said it's data-driven, but there may be an area possibly that was more or less resident-pushed, and that, I believe, might be the area that doesn't have activity.
Right.
So I don't see the reason for us to pay for that, is there's not a significant amount of activity, so those reports would, following up to those reports or questions when we had the committee meeting would be good.
Yep, we'll get you guys a copy of the follow-up with current statistics of ShotSpotter. And are you looking for the entire city or solely the north side?
Just the north side.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if you could forward that to me, all of
All
us.
of us.
And if you can, because there's people like Council Hogan who are interested in the west side, would like to see that as well. So send that, if you can do entire city and maybe specifically, yeah, there you go. Right. So,
Yeah,
any other
we'll
questions?
get you the guys that information.
Thank you. Any other questions? Item 22.
Item 22 is asking to appropriate in the amount of $700,000 for unallocated cash capital for information and technology upgrades. The purpose of this is to continue to upgrade our end-of-life servers, switches, firewalls, and other related equipment. This is part of the 23-24 capital plan. We're just looking for the appropriation of the funding.
Questions?
It's better to have than not.
I guess, would this be part of the phone system too?
Some of the equipment will go into the phone system. Most of that equipment at this point has been purchased, and we're in the process of beginning to install it concurrently with the 0365 project that the city and the police are also doing.
Okay. Any questions? Councilor Paniagua.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Whoops. Good afternoon, everybody. I have item number 23. This is to appropriate funds to the Youth Advisory Council. It's $2,000 that will go to pay the educator for their services and with the children, with the students. If there are any questions, if not, we're all set.
This is part of the also legislation, just let y'all know.
Thank you. Councilor Gathers.
Thank you. Of items 24 to 32. We'll start with item number 24. Got our Deputy Commissioner, Ann Fordock.
Hello. Good day. Ann Fordock, First Deputy Commissioner of Syracuse DPW. We currently have a 2-year contract with Barton LaJudas for consulting, and we're just looking to do the extension on that. Currently, they're helping us on the route optimization.
Any questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll go to item number 25. We have the chief coming up.
Afternoon, Councilors. Corey Dunham, Chief Operating Officer. So this is extending one of our renewal options with Laz Parking, who operates and maintains the city-owned parking garages.
That's going good.
Yeah, they've been great to work with.
Speaking of parking garages,
Mhm.
we just would like to ask, how is the program going for the bus that we purchased to transfer the city employees to and from?
Oh, the shuttle? I mean,
shuttle,
it's,
yes, the
yeah,
shuttle.
it's been operating well. You know, we had some, slow start getting it staffed with, because it's staffed by LAS employees, but they've got folks that are operating it. We've got, 15 to 20 folks riding it every day. We're just about to do another kind of push to folks to let them know when the schedule is. We're working with the comms team to get a text service so that we can text with riders to let them know if, something's running late or, or anything like that. So, all in all, it's been successful.
Perfect. Any other questions pertaining to parking garages?
Yeah, question on the parking garage, that few weeks back, it was talking about being shut down.
Mhm.
Is that city-owned?
No, the Hotel
Okay.
Syracuse garage, which is not the garage that the Marriott uses, so it's confusingly named, but the Hotel Syracuse garage is privately owned and remains closed.
Okay.
So, Corey, 3.4 million for the operation and maintenance of the city-owned garages.
Mhm.
How much comes back to us based upon, fees and parking?
I mean, I'd be
expenses?
happy to, we have, we receive monthly financial reports from LAS that I'd be happy to share with you to give you sort of a year-by-year comparison as to the revenue that we're receiving. I will give credit to LAS because they have sought out a lot of opportunities for us where, not just waiting for companies to come to us to ask to park in our garages, but they've been seeking out companies to come, especially in garages like the Washington Street garage that has a lot of capacity. They've been really proactive, partnering with Syracuse Stage for Madison Irving, partnering with the Most and the Landmark for the Center Armory garage. So they've been looking proactively to seek out ways to bring in parkers and not just wait for folks to come. So I'd be happy to share the financial information with you, Counselor, to review.
We talked about potentially different fee structures at
Yes.
different locations. And do you have a concept of how much we're subsidizing the operation of these facilities?
Not off the top of my head, but I could certainly get you that information as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
But I can wait for the report, Corey, but just a quicker yes or no. Is it self-sustaining? Are the garages self-sustaining in terms of what comes in plus what we are expending?
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, a lot of it has to do with us dealing, as counselors know, with deferred maintenance. So we're doing a $1 million project in the Center Armory garage to deal with a lot of the drainage issues there. We have another big project happening in the Fayette garage next up to try and address some of these long-term deferred maintenance issues. So, I could certainly look at over the course of the contract what we have spent in capital in each garage and then compare that to, what revenue we've taken in. But it is very difficult, particularly in our climate, to create profitable garages. I mean, a lot of it is just to try and enable and support an economic development in these areas.
I'm just kind of thinking a little outside the box. Is there a market if we tried to sell these to a private vendor?
I believe there will be, and as I think I mentioned in the parking garage budget hearing, that's something that we're continuing to pursue to say which assets doesn't make sense for us to hang on to and which ones can we perhaps offload to private owners. So, fortunately, the AXA garage is no longer owned by the city. And, looking at Madison Irving, especially with all the development in East Genesee Street, makes a lot of sense to see if that might be one. The Fayette garage, given the development downtown, Center Armory garage, given that it really just serves the businesses and the residents, we should be looking at each one of these critically to see if there's a market to offload them.
We're receiving information, we'll hold and tell her she'll get everything together so we can look at it. That'll be it, I think.
Great.
For that.
Thank you, counselors.
Thank you, appreciate it. For 26, I think we have Cindy Engineering coming, Ms. Mary Rubison.
Good afternoon, councilors. Mary Robison, city engineer. Item 26 is accepting sewer lining in 2 manholes and replacing their frame and grates along the 900 block of Madison Street in conjunction with the Standard at Syracuse project at 910 Madison Street. This is to meet the one-on-one sanitary sewer offset requirement by the county.
Is it required by the county?
Required by the county, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions? Okay.
Item 27 is amending an agreement with Bergman Associates for additional construction inspection costs related to the north, south, east, west interconnect project, which is a TIP project. This project got delayed because at first it came in over budget, and then we rebid it and got some additional funding. So the construction inspection was delayed, plus there were some additional work authorized when we got the additional money.
Any questions? Okay, 28.
Item 28 is a new project, TIP project, James Street Improvement Project, South Salina Street to Grant Boulevard. We've gone through the RFP process and want to enter an agreement with CNS Engineers for the preliminary design phase in the amount of $595,000. 80% reimbursement from federal and 15% Marchicelli reimbursement.
We love Marchicelli.
Yes.
Any questions on 28? 29?
29 is also a new TIP project, Creek Walk Phase 3. We want to enter in an agreement with CNS Engineers. Went through a similar RFP process for an amount for preliminary engineering in the amount not to exceed $797,000. This does not get Marchicelli funding. It's only 80% federal funding because it's not a vehicular transportation project.
They let me down. I'm joking. So with this creek walk, was it the creek walk or was it the canoe launch that needed to be fixed on the Kirk Park side?
The canoe launch on Kirk Park is going to be built this summer.
Okay, that's gonna okay.
Yep, that's
all right.
going to start in July.
Gotcha. And with the creek walk side of everything on that side is all set.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so this completes the creek walk. So this Phase 3 is West Colvin Street to Dorwin Ave.
Okay.
Mary, I don't know if this is your question or somebody else, and it's a little bit not related to the specific item, but to Creek Walk in general. Do we know how many people use Creek Walk? Have we done that study at all, or to just see how people use it? Is it being used, and how many?
I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure if SMTC...
Who would know that answer?
I'm not sure if we haven't done counts ourselves, but I feel like there might be some information out there. I'll have to look into that.
Okay, could you?
Yep.
Who would be the general outcome of the count? Who would be the outcome of the count?
I think Russell
What
Hoke,
would be the outcome? I mean, we're investing a lot of resource into this, and we just want to make sure that the community is taking advantage of it, and how, you know?
Yeah.
So-
I know especially in the northern section, I've heard from just residents and business owners that they use it a lot.
in the southern, on the south side section is utilized by walking groups, biking groups, and we host with Parks Department the Mile Market every fall. So it's a huge vending event.
It'd be good to know the numbers.
I'll see if we have them. I'm not sure
Please.
if we do or not.
Okay.
But I know there's, SMTC has gotten calls asking when when is the creek walk going to be expanded to the southern city line. So I know there's definite community interest. I just don't know if we have exact numbers.
Has there ever been any safety concerns in the past, any issues with the safety of pedestrians?
I have not
Maybe
heard of any
pushing more?
pedestrian concerns. There
In
was
this
the safety concern
section?
in the northern section.
Well,
by the mall.
the entire creek walk, I mean, we've had some incidences
Yeah,
that we've
I
seen
was
in the
gonna say
paper
the
about it,
entire
but,
creek
you
walk,
know,
yeah.
That's what I'm concerned about.
SPD's been doing a pretty good job at responding and handling those
In terms of
situations.
like pedestrian
feel
crossing
safe when they
streets,
go
I'm
in
not
there,
sure
yeah.
if there's any,
course,
I haven't heard of any, but
Okay.
there may have been some. I don't know.
Right in the street, the green. It also has cameras.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah, we are going to be installing the cameras in phase 1, probably starting the month of June, so next month. Can't believe next month is June.
Any other questions on 29? We'll go to 30.
30 and 31 is a request for our annual miscellaneous infrastructure improvements and stormwater maintenance. This is to bond and authorize $325,000. This covers all miscellaneous repairs and improvements to our bridges, retaining walls, culverts, creeks, stormwater elements.
Any questions on these two items? All right, we'll go to 32.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Beth Smith, Management Analyst for the Water Department. Item 32 is requesting permission for the City Water Department to be declared lead agency on this intake extension project replacement program, the project extension program project.
No questions?
Any questions?
Okay, we're all set. Thank you, Majority Whip. I'm all set. I'm all set. Good?
You all set?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Councilor Naber.
Thank you, councilors. I have line 33 ready. Resolution to appoint Olivier Secarori to the Citizens Review Board. Any questions, comments?
All communication has been made with CRB for this filling of the seat, correct?
I did send an email. Go ahead.
Being that she got this item on here, I'm surprised she's not here.
Okay.
Is anybody here from the CRB?
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Who's Councilor Cardwell? You take? Oh, Councilor Monto, you taking Councilor Hogan items?
Thank you, Councilor. On behalf of Councilor Hogan, I have 34 through 37. Hello, Owen.
Hello, Councilors. Owen Kearney, City Planning and Sustainability Division. Items 34 and 35 were on your agenda last item. They are companion items and are focused on ultimately the acceptance of the city's local waterfront revitalization plan. That must be reviewed by New York State, and this is essentially authorizing the city and acknowledging that the city's prepared the plan and intends to forward it to New York State. This is a requirement of the state. The item, maybe the takeaway today is I'm working with Councilor Hogan to set up a committee meeting to, frankly, present the plan to you and obviously provide an opportunity for questions and answers. So more on that shortly. Hopefully we'll do that sooner than later. But other than that, nothing specific to add to these items today.
I take it your 500-page plan is subcategorized, right?
It is, and I think that's where the committee meeting may help really capture the plan, its intentions, and what it means to our city. So I'm excited to share that information with you. I need to get on your agenda, so more on that shortly.
Oh, and is this item 34 ready to be voted on yet?
It is
I don't
not.
think so. We're waiting for the secret.
That's right, and that's essentially what I'm working with Corp Counsel's office, and so we'll provide some more clarity on that. But otherwise, ultimately, it's to get this plan not necessarily approved by the city. It's just kind of an authorization for state review. It's a formal step, but it's not the final step, and want to make sure you guys are up to speed on it before you do that. So we'll make sure we get that committee meeting scheduled.
So we'll continue to hold those, right, Katie?
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Thanks, Owen.
Thanks, Councilors.
36.
Good afternoon, councilors. Eric Ennis, Neighborhood and Business Development. So the request before you would be to authorize a grant application that the city is preparing and seeking to submit to the New York State Restore New York program. Program is one that municipalities have the ability to apply for. And so as we set out and really were thinking about this, and the city has applied and successfully received Restore New York in the past, we're really looking at a focused application this round for downtown, but particularly looking at opportunities for bringing in more affordable housing within the downtown area, as well as addressing really a challenging blighted properties. And so to go with the three that are going to be included, and this was included in the legislative packet, it includes City Hall Commons, the ongoing redevelopment work, and the fact we have the property right now with a purchase contract that's been approved. the Warren Street Garage, which is condemned for the most part, except for that first level. You can use Restore New York funds for the purpose of demolition. So as we talked about parking garages a little bit earlier, that is a privately owned garage. This is not one the city owns, but want to be able to use and facilitate these funds for demolition of that structure. And then lastly, a property at the corner of Warren and Jefferson Street known as the Jefferson Building. Each of these, again, involving 2 mixed-use developments, as well as focusing on clearance and demolition of the Warren Street garage site. So happy to answer any
The 4 million
questions.
is not enough to do all 3 of those. You're just
Correct.
Okay.
This ultimately what this does is certainly this will help underwrite some of those costs, but this would not cover the cost of each of those developments. But the city, as the applicant, ultimately the recipient, if we're successful, then can make those sub-grantee awards to those
Do we have a
projects.
price tag on that demolition on Warren Street Garage? Do we-
So there right now, there are discussions ongoing about what a total demolition cost would be. So we're working right now with the owner on that, and some discussions about future opportunities with that garage. So
It's
it would
a goner,
be
right? I mean, there's no.
yeah, so in terms of just structural assessments, this is something that code enforcement, I've worked closely with Jake. We actually recently had a discussion with the Landmark Preservation Board, because we know it's a locally contributing historic property, about just, it is in terms of condition, one of, if not the worst structurally conditioned garage in the city. So I would say, we have sought the ability for new development and new infill construction once that garage is demoed.
Will there be potential foresight in the future to look at further grants to help with the overly condemned properties that we have throughout the whole entire city and not
Sure.
just downtown?
Yeah,
Nothing against it, but
and that's a great point. I should have spoken with that too. So we've applied for the past with multiple rounds of Restore. I will say 2 rounds ago we were successful with the Washington Square neighborhood Court Woodlawn area. We're using that funding to facilitate the Maria Regina campus redevelopment. We've done more recently a West Side application involving numerous demolitions of bladed structures, including land bank owned properties as part of their demo. And so you can use this program for a variety of things, both adaptive reuse as well as demolition, but it is tailored to either entirely vacant or mostly vacant projects. And so we view this, certainly as you go up and down Warren Street, the projects have to be in very close proximity to each other. All 3 of these sites are within 1 block of one another, so we really view this as a linchpin for the future of Warren Street.
Eric, is this coming through Janet's department? This grant?
So in this case, what we ultimately do is that it's more economic development focused. And so a lot of times what happens is that our team, we've applied for Restore New York in the past, and because of Empire State Development, a lot of that work is done within neighborhood and business development, but it is something where anytime that we're applying and we're working on grant programs, we want to make sure that we're coordinating with the grants team.
And which of these properties would technically be slated for the lower income units, and what would the AMI be?
So for the 2 buildings that would not be slated for demolition, those would be the adaptive reuse or the rehabilitation. So City Hall Commons, project, it will incorporate those affordable units, complying with the zoning ordinance, which is mandating that. And then as well for the Jefferson Building, they're going to trigger that as part of the zoning requirements. So one of the benefits, again, we want to see the additional need for housing in downtown, but the fact that these projects will be accounting for that mix of housing for both buildings.
You said zoning would basically.
It's a requirement as part of for any project that's involving 20 or more units. There's a requirement and expectation that you have to build in those varying income levels.
Okay. But what is the varying? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm sorry, just
what levels of varying income is what?
Sure. So the intent is that 80% of area median income or below. So that's really designed and designated to be as high as theoretically you can go around that affordability rate.
Just a general along those questions, Eric. What's the affordability in downtown as we speak? Have you ever looked at that? Have you ever follow up on that to just see that there's a follow through with those stuff?
Sure. In terms of your question is just in terms of the mix of different housing offerings,
right? Because as we renovate downtown, there's a conversation that the income accommodation is there. Have we ever, as a city, follow up on that to make sure that there's a
Yeah, I
follow-through?
think my short answer would be I feel like there's not enough, right? But it is something we want to continue to see projects more, coming online that are bringing in that range of housing. A couple of projects I'll point to is the Smith Restaurant Supply Building. That entire project has units that all fall under that 80% AMI range. Corbett Corner, which is right at the corner of Genesee and Townsend Street, I believe. That's another project entirely being able to bring in new units that are deemed affordable. So we've seen projects that have been successful, but as the new zoning code is coming into effect and we know that there's these requirements, we're having these conversations now and making sure the development community is accounting for that.
I guess my question is, how do we follow up as a city to make sure that that actually happens, that there are people that are actually moving in with those requirements, those developers and those owners are meeting those requirements of income driven?
Sure. So
how do we follow up? How do we make sure that?
There will be, as projects are receiving building permits and receiving their zoning approvals, then verification of that is part of just their business plan and ultimately being able to look at the project financials. And then there's a certification too. So the applicant, as they're going through that zoning and permitting process, has to certify they understand and they're going to be compliant with those mixed income requirements.
No, I get that, Eric, as the specs, as somebody bringing their application, there are specs that they have to meet, right?
Yep.
But afterwards, once we give them the grant, we say, okay, go right ahead, you meet the requirement. What's the city process after that? Once the construction is done, people are moving in. Yep. How do we make sure that they are?
Sure.
They are meeting those?
So there is a verification process to make sure that they are then in line with those expectations. So making sure that they are actually leasing those units to individuals and households that are meeting those income thresholds. And so I will say this has been multiple departments engaged in these discussions. So okay, I was just going to say I will share. I'm sharing as much of my insight and knowledge, but I'm more than happy to defer to others.
I believe there's supposed to be state reporting to back
Okay,
that.
but are we doing it? That's my question.
In terms of kind of all of our local processes, so, and the reason that I'm standing up here is typically that's a process that we already have in place for any of our funded projects, so it's something that we're used to doing. There's annual income verifications that each of those property owners will be required to submit for their tenants. So as it is working through the permitting process, we will work with those owners to kind of tag the particular units that those that are going to be associated with that. We can work them into kind of our system over time. Every year, basically at the point that the building gets cleared for its certificate of occupancy, that is kind of the clock starter for when those units need to be occupied. They'll submit paperwork to us every year, and then we have mechanisms in place through the zoning ordinance if they're not following those provisions to kind of work through the enforcement process.
Being private developers, we really can't do anything, can we, or no?
It's part of the zoning ordinance, so there's provisions that would be in place through zoning enforcement for us to be able to go after those particular property owners. In the event that property owners were to be non-compliant with that, it would be like any other city property maintenance or zoning code provision. There's also escalated in the event that there were to be a particular project where we were to have any subsidies kind of above and beyond that minimum that's required as a part of the zoning ordinance. That provides us an even escalated layer because we have kind of clawback mechanisms tied to those dollars.
It's more or less when you put in the AMI, it's 30% of that income. So if someone wants to rent a unit for $1,800, the individual has to make 80% of that, but 30% has to be accounted for to be paid. So affordable really depends on what they set it as the market. So that's.
Yeah, I understand kind of what you're getting at with that, and those are all things that we're looking at as we are continuing to kind of fine tune kind of some of the provisions within the ordinance. Those are all things that we're going to be increasingly kind of looking at closely. That also ties into kind of some of the work that we're doing with housing strategy. So.
No other question. I just got one question for Commissioner Ennis there. As far as the reconstruction, demolition, and things like that, Is that pertaining to city choosing those companies, and is the MWB requirement involved with that as well, or is it just like what's going on with the actual scope of work there?
So the funding would be coming through Empire State Development. It will come in with generally what is a 30% MWBE utilization goal. So with many of these state projects that we're seeing, they're going to have those 30% utilization goals, and that's the discussion that we're having with the property owners and the applicant as part of this program. So that will be built in as part of any award that the city receives.
Okay, just my final question.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric.
Okay, thank you.
37.
Good afternoon, Council. Jake Dishaw, Deputy Commissioner of Code Enforcement and Zoning Administration. Just another piece to add to that conversation before we get into 37. We also put conditions of approval within the Planning Commission's vote for projects that need this. So it ties in the approval of the project that they follow up on this and execute and continue to certify annually. But there's also more, there's a regulatory agreement process. There's also a restrictive covenant process that is tied to that. So a lot of work going into it. If interested, we can definitely set something up to discuss later on. But
So they certify annually, which helps you.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't had any that have even become occupied yet, right? This is how new it is. So we've got a handful that have approached us that have, we've confirmed that they've agreed to meet these requirements, but they're not developments that are, open and have occupants in them yet. So
Set regulatory agreements and restrictive what?
covenant?
Covenants.
Yeah, so item number 37 is a special permit for Elmcrest to put 2 additions, one on the rear, one on the side. This is for a children's mental health expansion. It will be licensed through the New York State Department of Health, so.
Didn't have any oppositions, nobody in that neighborhood.
Nobody spoke in opposition of it at Planning Commission. Planning Commission approved and recommended the decision to you all.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Monto. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Councilmember Joke. I've got items 38 through 45. We're going to hold discussion on 38 and 39 for a committee meeting, which is pending. We're trying to coordinate councilors' schedules to make sure we get that on the books. We're moving on to item 40.
Anybody from the city?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, I was going to say city clerk's office.
Yeah, this is actually an agreement to continue the software that we currently use now for dog licensing. I would think we share the use of it with parks and, with parks. But we have had DocuPad now since 2018. And we just want to continue contract.
And item 41, Joe, are we going to talk about that Monday? Yes, that would be exactly. Perfect. 41.
41?
Yep. Moving on to 42.
Hi again, Councilors. Matt OJ, Commissioner of Assessment. We are looking to retain an appraiser, that's what we usually do. Same budget line, different profession. We're looking to retain a surveyor for the property at 1025 Sunnycrest Road, that is Eastwood Heights, property that we are, we've owned it since, probably since we annexed Eastwood, but it's been Syracuse Housing Authority apartments since 1989. We're contemplating disposition. There's a ton of vacant land around the property. We want to incent neighborhood affordable housing while also, retaining vacant land and not turning that over to a private developer. So we're looking to resub the property. We're going to carve out a good chunk of lawn on the north side of the property on Avon Road.
You said it was SHE property at one point?
It's been leased or maybe operated under a management agreement by SHA since late 80s. We've owned it since I think we annexed the village of Eastwood in the mid-20s.
Okay.
It was a public school through
So
the
go back,
70s
man.
probably.
So disposition of the building and carving out a chunk of lawn on Avon, you said?
So yeah, that northern portion of the property, I know we had, I think, a committee meeting on this 9 months ago, probably, to authorize a shelter rent agreement for a new beneficial owner to work in conjunction with SHA to add a couple of units, wholly renovate the property. Because it's just such a large lot, we don't necessarily want to turn over a city asset of that size for a specific use without better optimizing our use, our future use of the site. It's possible that there could be some utility there for infill housing, for other uses that we'd be more than happy to discuss further going forward. But we just, should we close on this deal later in the year, we don't want to turn over the entirety of the block to a
So
private
not
party.
touching the basketball court, the community garden?
That's
the
actually a
soccer
separate
fields?
parcel.
Okay.
Everything due east of there is a separate tax parcel. I'm not sure if it's a park, but it's certainly a park-like property that we're going to
It's
retain
treated like a
ownership
park,
of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna hold this one, Matt.
Okay.
Thank you. Try to get together, have a larger conversation. 43.
This is 731 South Crouse Avenue. This is another Crouse Marshall Special Assessment District correction. Just setting the roll right.
Is this an executive session one too, or no?
No, this
Okay.
is
No, this one's
minor administrative change. Just
Okay.
we never change a role once finalized without council authorization.
Proceed. Okay. All right. Gotcha.
And 44, that you?
Finally, requesting license agreement for every Saturday from now to the end of the year for We Rise Above the Streets. Billings Park is the usual site of the Sandwich Saturday disbursements. Billings Park is now closed for STEAM school construction staging. We need to find another relatively centrally located site. We've got these 3 lots at the corner of Seymour and West Onondaga, currently underutilized. That would be perfect for this. Again, disposition of the property is contemplated, but certainly wouldn't close before the end of the year. So we'd like to offer this site for a nominal fee for that terrific philanthropic purpose.
Seymour and West Onondaga. I got to look at that.
Just south of the rescue mission.
Just what?
Just south of the rescue mission.
So you don't want them to be in Billings Park anymore? You want them to go?
Oh no, we'd be thrilled for them to be
We
there.
got the
but
construction of
it's
STEAM school.
fenced off. It's construction staging for the STEAM school.
Is that area safe? I mean, for car pedestrian use?
I have not been the primary point of contact on this, but a colleague of mine has been in constant contact with Alameen. He's suggested that it's perfectly
Is
suited.
that where the old lounge was at?
That's
No,
right.
it's just like a big open area. It's like, it's on the back side of,
The rescue mission site?
Yeah, where
That's where the
where
lounge was. It was torn down.
The Blakes.
Yeah.
Or where it was torn down at? Okay.
The what was it?
It was torn down in probably 09 plus or minus, but yeah, there were 2 apartment buildings there and the bar was there too.
Yeah, okay.
But this was recommended by Mr. Alameen Muhammad himself, right? So.
I think it was recommended by us, but he readily
agreed.
accepted, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Yep. And item 45 will be discussed tomorrow morning at committee meeting, 11 a.m. here in the council chambers. Thank you, Councilor.
I'm sorry, just one more question on that one. Is it fenced in? It's not fenced in? Okay.
it's just like a big field.
To the north, ours is just some legacy asphalt and grass that I think codes mows.
Okay.
Councilor Jones Rouser.
Oh, me, oh.
Thank you, Councilor Williams.
My
Councilor
mind is
Joan
somewhere
Rouser.
else. All right, so, I have items 46 through 51. I think we are doing these are all held over items, so we are doing a committee meeting this week, Thursday at 12 noon for items 46, 47, and 48. Wait, yeah, 48. And 49 through 51 are still being held.
Good afternoon, councilors. Kimone Jordan, Director of Housing and Neighborhood Planning. So we would definitely like to hold item number 49 at 212 Elizabeth Street. We heard from the property owner. They've applied for a tax trust, and the committee has approved the application.
Okay, and
Holding 49.
you said holding?
Holding.
Okay. And 50 as well, that owner has been in touch with the finance department and is currently figuring out what she needs to do. So 51.
We have not heard anything from the
You haven't
property
heard
owner.
anything? Okay, so we'll move that one forward.
All right. With that, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, let's go.
We're all adjourned. Thank you.